Hi everyone, welcome to week 7 of your pharmacy software course. This week we are turning our attention to institutional pharmacy. So what this means is the things that you're going to be doing within a inpatient facility. So for example, the very first thing that you're going to be working on is entering new intravenous orders. That's what Lab 13 is all about. And they're going to walk you through the steps for this. You're going to go in here and you're going to add a new drug, and you're basically going to do very similar steps as you did with extemporaneous compounding. But this time what this compound is an IV order. One of the most important things to remember about these types of compounds versus the other types of compounds that we did before is that when we're doing an IV order, these are going straight into the patient's bloodstream. It is not easy to undo a mistake that has been made if this has been introduced into the patient's bloodstream. So even though we've got all kinds of safeguards in place, just keep in mind that it's even more important to be very vigilant in what you're doing when you're doing IV compounding. So they're going to work you through, how to do these types of orders. The one thing I want you to also note in this particular lab, and if you actually go to the back of your textbook, you've got some samples. So if you go to page 160 in the back of your textbook, these are some additional orders that are a little more detailed than the example in the actual lab. If you look on page 160, you'll notice that for Ernest, this has got a lot of other things on here. You can see what his diet is. For example, he's only allowed to have clear liquids. You can see what his diagnosis is. He's got diverticulitis. You can see that he doesn't have any drug allergies. You can see who his doctor is. You can also see things like what time this order took place. You can see what the doctor ordered, and there's more than one thing. So he's got normal saline, 1 liter at 75 milliliters per hour. Then they're also going to be adding in a dose of Zosyn to that IV as a piggyback. They're also going to be adding Flagyl as a piggyback every 12 hours. Also notice that you see something that says CBC, BMP in the AM. So these are all things, VS every Q4 hours. So these are all other things that aren't necessarily related to the medications. Orders for blood work, vital signs every 4 hours. Then they're also telling them that, that he can have Tylenol as he needed for his temperature being over 101. So there's a lot of other information that you're going to find on an inpatient order such as this. So that's Lab 13. One of the things that you're going to be doing in Lab 13 is also doing a PDF of a particular label for Myrtle York. Keep in mind that you do a label for an inpatient just like you did with the outpatients. So you're going to just go to fill RXs and you're going to start a new record and you're going to fill Myrtle's order. So make sure you're doing that with Lab 13. Now Lab 14 is very similar to Lab 13, but what this is something called Total Parenteral Nutrition, TPNs. What TPNs are is replacement nutrition. So when we have a patient that for whatever reason cannot get the nutrition that they need by mouth, we're going to be preparing TPNs. So TPNs typically contain a lot of different things, but the main components are glucose, which is sugars, fats, and amino acids. Also, we're going to, add electrolytes, other medications, things like that. A patient is typically going to be getting these into a vein, into a central line. Anytime a patient's got something going on with their digestive system that's, pretty serious as far as, they can't process, that's when you're going to see a TPN in use. An unconscious patient is going to have TPNs if they're, maybe you've got a patient in a coma, something like that. Maybe they've got some sort of surgical procedure on their digestive system, so we're bypassing that for now. So that's why we would be using a TPN. Maybe they just cannot eat for whatever reason, they cannot swallow, something like that. TPN would be necessary. So all of those things are things that might happen that would require a TPN. So TPN again is very similar as far as preparation goes to the IV. As far as the computer system piece goes. So you're still going to be putting together all the components so that you have a total complete package. So as you work through this week, if you have any problems or questions, please make sure that you reach out to me, and have a great week.